Welcome back. This week, we're going to talk about a new type of issue. A type of issue that I will call self-regarding issues, or issues involving self-regarding behavior. There are certain issues that clearly involve the rights and responsibilities of multiple people. Okay. For example, issues about controlling violence, right? Well, those involve multiple people, right? The community issues we looked at when we discussed smart growth involve multiple people. But there are also issues where it seems like the only thing at stake is the well-being of one person. Right? This is sometimes referred to as involving self-regarding behavior. It doesn't directly affect anyone else. Now, the title I've given to this unit is it wrong to be a couch potato? Here's the idea. Okay. Some people would make the following argument, right? Suppose you have John Doe, and John Doe does his minimal duties, okay? He supports himself, he works his job, he pays his taxes, he does the minimum of community service that anyone would be obligated to do, and he doesn't directly harm anyone, right? And John Doe also spends all of his time in doing things like watching sitcoms, okay? He doesn't do anything like play sports. He doesn't have an interest in the fine arts. Okay? He doesn't do any extra community service. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't do any of these things. Right? Some people are going to say, well, there's something wrong with that. Right? We ought not to live that way. Even though it's not directly harming anyone else, even though he's done his minimal duties to and for others, there's still something wrong with living your life that way. They might even try to convince him, look, you're wasting your life watching third-rate sitcoms, right, when you could be doing something more worthwhile. Particularly, some of them are going to say, you're better off, right, and you're living a better life if you were to engage in certain kinds of higher pleasures. But other people are going to say, wait a minute, no, there's really no such thing as higher or lower pleasures, right? There's just pleasures, right? Now, of course, we have some responsibility to sometimes sacrifice pleasures for others, right? But if the only thing at stake is what kind of pleasure you get out of it, there's no higher or lower ways of living, right? If one person does his minimal duties and watches sitcoms, and another person does his minimal duties and becomes a great athlete, an Olympic athlete, and the third person does his minimal duties and learns to appreciate opera, well, there's no difference between these, right? Everyone's done their minimal duties. That's all there is to say, and it's just a matter of personal taste. Here's what we're going to discuss, right? First, we're going to discuss the question, is there anything actually wrong with being a couch potato? Right? And then we'll discuss the question, who, if anybody, has the right to interfere with someone's decision to be a couch potato? In this presentation, we'll focus on the first question. Here's one way of looking at it. Some people are going to come along and say that training hard to be an Olympic athlete is better than reading trashy romance novels, right? Or third-rate mystery novels. Other people are going to say that argument doesn't really make, not only does an argument for that not make any sense, that claim doesn't even make any sense, right? Saying that this self-regarding way of life is better than another is like saying that this flavor of ice cream is taller than that flavor of ice cream. It just doesn't mean anything, right? There's just pleasures, right? You can have more intense and less intense pleasures, etc., right? But there's no such thing as higher and lower pleasures. There's no such thing as inherently better leisure activities, right? The claim there's no way a claim about better and worse leisure activities could actually be true. Or at least there's no way that a claim about inherently better and worse leisure activities could be true. Right? Other people are going to come along and say, well, yeah, the claims could be true or false. In fact, maybe they are true or false, but we could never know, right? With any amount of reliability, which pleasures were higher and which pleasures were lower. Some people might come along and say, no, actually, in some cases, we can. In fact, there are correct answers to the question, which pleasures are higher and which are lower. And sometimes we can know with some degree of certainty that certain pleasures are higher than certain other ones. That's what we're going to be exploring in this presentation. We're going to look at arguments for and against the claim that there are higher and lower pleasures. In the next presentation, we'll get to the question, the second question, which is, if there are higher and lower pleasures, who, if anyone, is entitled to do something about the fact that another person chooses to exclusively pursue lower pleasures?